2020 has been a year of unpredictable and unprecedented events. Will the 2020 election be another name to add to that long list? This election season has been long and hard fought, and it has all come down to this.
Folks, we can do this. There's nothing beyond our capacity.
We're going to win this election so big, you watch.
Top issues like the virus, the economy have taken center stage.
Anybody that wants a test can get it. It simply was not true.
Down because if he gets in, seriously, you're going to have one of the worst depressions we've ever had.
Only by voting for me can you save your fracking.
And of course, it wouldn't be an election without some shade being thrown from both of the candidates.
Well, Donald Trump needs to stop caring about how he looks. Start caring about what Americans happening to the rest of America.
Joe Biden is a corrupt politician. The Biden family is looking more and more like a crime family.
And his job isn't to whine about it. His job is to do something.
He tried. Joe tried. He's having a hard time.
And the soul of wherever we want our country to go is on the line.
You know, we have to come together. That's why I'm running. I'm running as a proud Democrat.
The United States will never be a socialist nation.
Tonight, we have the battle for the White House, the fight for Senate control, and which direction will the people of the United States guide us towards for the next 4 years. This is Election Night 2020.
And we will make America great again.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Election Night 2020 here in the Anth Predicts Election Night headquarters. It's going to be a very interesting and entertaining night as we have Democratic nominee Joe Biden challenging incumbent Republican President Donald Trump. So, going into tonight, what we know Joe Biden holds a lead in the national polling average with 51% of the vote to Donald Trump's 44% of the vote, with 5% being undecided. In the battlegrounds, we have an average of polls, also from Real Clear Politics, is Joe Biden has 49% to President Trump's 46% in the averages as of now. Predicted betting odds. President Trump is predicted to lose to Joe Biden. Joe Biden would get 290 electoral votes to President Trump's 248. Biden doing this by flipping back the Rust Belt and the state of Arizona as well. So we have some approval numbers as for exit polls of who has voted today. President Trump has an approval rating of 45% to a disapproval rating of 53%. And for Joe Biden, we have an approval rating of 44% and a disapprove of 46%. So both candidates are more disapproved than approved. However, Joe Biden's margin is smaller than President Trump's. We have a generic Democrat versus generic Republican polling average. So Democrats are projected to get 49% of the vote. Republicans are projected to get 42% of the vote. So, this is the map we'll be using tonight. We have Joe Biden on the left, President Trump on the right. In the middle, we have the number of electoral votes that will be counted out throughout the night. We have a little key on the side of the screen here that shows you that all the states currently in that dark black, dark gray color, the polls have not yet closed. When the polls do start closing, the states in red will represent a President Trump win. The states in blue will represent a Democrat win, Joe Biden win. And the gold states will be too early to call or too close to call. We don't have enough information to call it yet. We also have this map for the Senate map as well. This year, the Senate's different because the Senate does have some races that don't happen. Every Senate race happen or every 3 election cycles, so what that means is we have some states that aren't on the ballot for Senate this year. So those are the states in gray with the black outline. And then the black states with the white outline, similar to the presidential map, are states that are up for election this year. The red states will be won by Republicans, blue will be won by Democrats, and gold will be either too close to call or too early to call. Same situation for the governor's map. The governor's map, we have a few states that are up this year. Red for Republicans, blue for Democrats, gold for too close. Now, with that said, we can get into our first polling closings of the night. At the 7 p.m. poll closings out of the states of Georgia, Indiana, Kentucky, South Carolina, Virginia, and Vermont. What we know, we know Georgia, the state of Georgia, and its 16 electoral votes are too close to call at this time. We know the state of Indiana and its 11 electoral votes will go for President Trump. Kentucky and its 8 electoral votes will go for President Trump. South Carolina and its 9 electoral votes are too close to call. There's a very interesting Senate race going on there as well that we'll be taking a closer look at very soon. The state of Vermont, its 3 electoral votes will go for Vice President Joe Biden. In Virginia, its 13 electoral votes expected to go to Joe Biden, but is currently too close to call, as we have had no votes from the Virginia suburbs yet. Most of the rural Virginia votes are coming in now. So with that said, we get off to a start on the electoral map. President Trump has a lead of 19 electoral votes to Joe Biden with 3 states currently undecided at this time. Now we go into the 7 p.m. poll closings for the Senate elections. What we know, the state of Georgia has 2 Senate races out right now. Republican Senator David Perdue is leading over Democrat challenger Jon Ossoff. However, it is too close to call at this time. The special election between incumbent Senator Kelly Loeffler, who was appointed earlier last year, she is currently in the lead in the primary over Republican Doug Collins. Both of them are trailing, however, to Democrat Ralph Warnock narrowly at this time. Interesting to see what's going on here. We know this race will go to a runoff, but who will actually go to the runoff itself, that is still to be determined. The state of Kentucky, Republican Mitch McConnell will be reelected. Democrats thought that Mitch McConnell is very vulnerable. Maybe Amy McGrath could make this race close. However, Mitch McConnell was able to pull off another win and will go back to the Senate for another 6 years. Whether or not he'll be the Speaker, well, that all depends on how the rest of the night goes. The South Carolina Senate race, Lindsey Graham versus Democrat Jamie Harrison, too close to call at this time. We've seen a lot of polls get very close. Jamie Harrison is making a big run for this state, currently too close to call at this time. In the state of Virginia, we can call as the poll is closed. Democrat Mark Warner will be reelected against Republican Daniel Gade. Mark Warner is a very popular incumbent, not too much of a surprise here. So with that said, Democrats have 36 Senate seats, Republicans have 31. The governor elections for 2020 at 7 p.m. We have the Indiana governorship. Eric Holcomb, the incumbent governor, will win here. We have Phil Scott, the Republican in Vermont, will be reelected. And that's going to do it for the poll closings for the governorships at this time. 20 Democrats to 21 Republicans. Now we move on to the 7:30 p.m. poll closings out of the states of North Carolina, Ohio, and West Virginia. Out of the state of North Carolina, currently too close to call. This is expected. North Carolina is supposed to be one of the closest swing states for election night tonight. Too close to call right now between President Trump and Joe Biden. The state of Ohio, also too close to call. The state is projected to go to President Trump based off polling data. However, at this time, it is currently too close to call, and we cannot say who will win the state at this moment. The state of West Virginia and its 5 electoral votes will go for President Trump at this time. And we can also make a call out of the state of South Carolina and its 9 electoral votes. The polls closed in the state about half an hour ago. However, now we can project President Trump will be able to win South Carolina's 9 electoral votes. With that, President Trump gets up to 33 electoral votes to Joe Biden's 3 electoral votes. The Senate elections at 7:30. What can we call? Well, North Carolina, Tom Tillis and Cal Cunningham, too close to call. This race has gotten a lot closer in the last few days, in the last few weeks, as there's been a scandal against Cal Cunningham. However, it is too close to call, but Cal Cunningham is off to an early lead. West Virginia, Republican Senator Shelley Moore Capito will be reelected to another 6-year term out of West Virginia. And we actually can make a surprising call out of the state of South Carolina. As President Trump wins the state, we can also project right now that Lindsey Graham has overperformed what the polls suggested, and we can project that it will be close, but Lindsey Graham will be narrowly able to hold on to this seat and will be reelected for another 6 years. So with that, the Democrats have 36 seats in the Senate, Republicans have 33. And we go on to the governor's elections at 7:30. Dan Forest, Roy Cooper, too close to call in North Carolina. Governor Roy Cooper is expected to be reelected, but is too close at this time. And West Virginia, Republican Governor Jim Justice, he has won another 4 years being governor of the state of West Virginia. That puts the Republicans at 22 and Democrats at 20. Now it's time for the 8 p.m. poll closings. Polls have closed out of all the states on the right. And now we get into what will be the first big batch of poll closings for the Democrats. President Trump has won the state of Alabama in its 9 electoral votes. Joe Biden has won Connecticut in its 7 electoral votes. Joe Biden has won his home state of Delaware in its 3 electoral votes. Joe Biden has won the District of Columbia, and it's 3 electoral votes as well. Florida, and it's 29 electoral votes. No surprise here. Too close to call. Expect this one to go down to the wire. Illinois, and its 20 electoral votes go to Vice President Joe Biden. Maine, and 3 out of its 4 electoral votes we can actually call this time around. Joe Biden has overperformed Hillary Clinton in the state of Maine. However, Maine's 2nd congressional district is too close to call at this moment. President Trump is narrowly leading in the polls there as of now, but is too close. The state of Maryland and its 10 electoral votes go to Joe Biden. The state of Massachusetts and its 11 electoral votes go to Joe Biden. Mississippi and its 6 go to President Trump. Missouri and its 10 go to President Trump. New Hampshire and its 4 New Hampshire and its 4 electoral votes are too close to call at this time. New Jersey and its 14 electoral votes go to Joe Biden. Oklahoma and its 7 electoral votes go to President Trump. Pennsylvania and its 20 are too close to call. Expect this one to go down to the wire as well. Tennessee and its 11 electoral votes go for President Trump. Virginia and its 13 electoral votes. This is a key race alert. We call this race at 7 p.m. as undecided, too close to call. Joe Biden, the votes from the Virginia suburbs came in. We can now call this race for Joe Biden. Joe Biden will win Virginia. This gives Joe Biden an electoral college lead at 87 electoral votes to President Trump's 76. Now we move on to the Senate elections at 8 p.m. and we can make a big projection right now. Out of the state of Alabama, Tommy Tuberville will be able to defeat Democrat Senator Doug Jones, who won the special election a few years ago. Tommy Tuberville flips a Democratic seat into the Republican column. Tommy Tuberville wins in Alabama. Chris Coons is able to win the Delaware Senate seat. He'll be reelected. Dick Durbin will also be reelected out of the state of Illinois. The state of Maine, Susan Collins and Sarah Gideon. This is very, very close. It is going right down to the wire. Also, Maine with ranked choice voting could potentially influence this race. However, it is too close to call at this time. The state of Massachusetts, Democrat Ed Markey will be reelected over Republican Kevin O'Connor. Mississippi, Cindy Hyde-Smith will win another 6 years, or will be reelected against Democrat Mike Espy. New Hampshire, Jeanne Shaheen, incumbent senator, will be reelected, defeating Republican Corky Mesner. New Jersey, Cory Booker will win another 6 years in the U.S. Senate. Republican Jim Inhofe out of the state of Oklahoma will win re-election. Tennessee, Bill Hagerty, who won the primary after incumbent Republican Senator Lamar Alexander stepped down. Bill Hagerty will win the primary, and he will be elected senator for 6 years in the U.S. Senate. And that's going to do it for the Senate elections at 8 o'clock. Democrats have 41 seats, and Republicans have 37, 41-37. Right now, Republicans flipping Alabama. So far, the only flip of the night so far, and is a Republican flip. The governor elections for 8 p.m., what can we tell you? Out of the state of Delaware, John Carney will win the governorship out of the state of Delaware. Missouri, Governor Mike Parson will win the state of Missouri against Nicole Galloway. And out of the state of New Hampshire, Republican Governor Chris Sununu will defeat Democrat Dan Feltus, calling it as the polls close. And out of the state of North Carolina, we can give you a key race alert. Democrat Governor Roy Cooper is able to defeat Dan Forest. He will be reelected for another 4 years, being governor for the state of North Carolina. And with that, Democrats have 22 governor seats, and Republicans have 24. Now we move on to the 8:30 p.m. poll closings. Only poll closing out of the state of Arkansas. Out of the state of Arkansas, President Trump wins in 6 electoral votes. No surprise here. President Trump will add to his total, getting him to 82 electoral votes. Joe Biden still leading with 87. The Senate elections, 8:30, out of the state of Arkansas, Tom Cotton will be reelected for another 6 years. The Democrats didn't even put up an opponent, and Tom Cotton was able to beat the Libertarian candidate by a very substantial margin. This gives Republicans 38 Senate seats, Democrats still holding at 41. Now for the 9 p.m. poll closings out of all the states on the right, most notably being Arizona, Michigan, Minnesota, Nebraska's 2nd district will be interesting to watch, as well as Wisconsin and Texas as well. So the state of Arizona and its 11 electoral votes, it is too close to call. Polls have been getting better for President Trump in recent days compared to where we were a few months ago. However, it is too close to call at this time. Colorado and its 9 electoral votes are too close to call. Joe Biden is expected to win it, but too close to call at this time. Kansas and its 6 electoral votes will go for President Trump. Louisiana and its 8 electoral votes will also go for President Trump at this time. Michigan, 16 electoral votes. Statistical tie in the state of Michigan right now. Joe Biden and President Trump. This one is going down to the wire as well. Too close to call. Minnesota and its 10 electoral votes. President Trump is hoping to upset Democrats and upset Joe Biden in the state of Minnesota. Nearly did it in 2016. However, Democrat Joe Biden is in the lead, but too close to call at this time for Minnesota's 10 electoral votes. Nebraska, 4 out of 5 of Nebraska's 5 electoral votes, go for President Trump. Nebraska's 2nd district, which does house the city of Omaha, is too close to call at this time. A very close neck-and-neck race right now for Nebraska's 2nd district. New Mexico and its 5 electoral votes. It was a closer state last time around, considering Gary Johnson was on the ticket. However, Joe Biden, we can project, will win New Mexico and its 5 electoral votes. North Dakota and its 3 go for President Trump. New York and its 29 electoral votes go for Joe Biden. Joe Biden will win its Rhode Island's 4 electoral votes. South Dakota and its 3 will go for President Trump. Texas and its 38 electoral votes are too close to call. Too close to call right now. Wisconsin and its 10 electoral votes, just like Wisconsin's statistical tie, too close to call at this time. And Wyoming and its 3 electoral votes will go for President Trump. That puts Joe Biden with a lead of 125 electoral votes to President Trump's 109, with a lot of toss-up states remaining on the map. The Senate elections for 9 p.m. What we can tell you is Arizona Democrat Mark Kelly versus Republican Martha McSally. Too close to call at this time. However, Mark Kelly has started himself off to a pretty substantial lead. However, it is still too close to call at this time. Colorado and its Senate race between Cory Gardner and John Hickenlooper, too close to call. Cory Gardner is projected to overperform President Trump in Colorado. However, John Hickenlooper is still favored at this time. Kansas and its Senate race between Roger Marshall and Barbara Bollier, too close to call. Similar to Colorado, we expected to go to Roger Marshall, the Republicans. However, it is too close to call at this time. The state of Louisiana, Bill Cassidy we project to win his Senate race here. Michigan and its Senate race, Gary Peters and John James. We've seen this race get very close in polling. Republicans believe enthusiasm is very high in Michigan. However, Gary Peters has a narrow lead, but too close to call at this time. Anything could happen in this race. The state of Minnesota, Tina Smith, Jason Lewis. Tina Smith has been losing a little bit of ground in the polls. However, she is still favored to win at this time, but too close to call as of now. Nebraska, Ben Sasse will be reelected to the U.S. Senate. New Mexico, Ben Ray Lujan will win this Senate seat, and he'll go on to serve 6 years. Rhode Island, Democrat Jack Reed will be reelected for another 6 years. South Dakota, Republican Mike Rounds, elected in 2014, will win his reelection bid. Texas, Republican John Cornyn. We could actually call John Cornyn at the poll closings. He has overperformed President Trump by a lot in Texas. John Cornyn will win another 6-year term in the U.S. Senate. And Wyoming, Cynthia Lummis will win Wyoming Senate race. That'll be another Republican win. So right now, the Senate statistically is tied. Democrats have 43 seats, Republicans have 43 seats, with a lot of yellow undecided being added to the map as of 9 p.m. Now, the governor elections for 2020 at 9 p.m. We can project North Dakota, Doug Burgum will win re-election, being governor of the state of North Dakota. Democrats have 22 governorships, Republicans have 25. Now for the 10 p.m. poll closings out of the states of Iowa, Montana, Nevada, and Utah. Out of the state of Iowa and its 6 electoral votes, too close to call. President Trump is favored, but Joe Biden is outperforming Hillary Clinton. Too close to call out of Iowa. Montana and its 3 electoral votes will go for Joe Biden. Montana also has interesting Senate and governor race, so we will be discussing soon. Nevada and its 6 electoral votes, too close to call. Joe Biden is favored. However, President Trump has been trying to make a late play for it. Too close to call at this time. And Utah and its 6 electoral votes. There'll be no 30-party candidate this time, so President Trump will be able to win Utah and its 6 electoral votes. And we have a key race alert out of the state of Colorado. Colorado and its 9 electoral votes we can project will be won by Joe Biden. Colorado will be won by Joe Biden. We can project Texas and its 38 electoral votes will be won by President Trump. President Trump, like last time, Texas was not called when the polls were closed. However, within an hour, it will go to President Trump. Joe Biden has 134 electoral votes to President Trump's 156. President Trump regaining the lead over Joe Biden, mainly due to the state of Texas being called for President Trump. Now we have the Senate elections at 10 p.m. Iowa, Joni Ernst, Teresa Greenfield, 49% tie right now. Very, very close. Expected to go down to the wire as well. Too close to call at this time. Montana, Steve Daines going up against Steve Bullock. Too close to call right now. Steve Daines does have an early lead. However, it is very, very close in the state of Montana. 53-47 at this time. Colorado, we can now project John Hickenlooper will defeat Cory Gardner, and he will win 6 years in the U.S. Senate, this being a Democratic gain and a Democratic pickup out of the state of Colorado. Republican Cory Gardner losing his re-election attempt. We can now call Kansas. Roger Marshall will be able to hold Robert Bollier. Like Kansas happened in 2014, we did see some polling that looked bad for Republicans. However, Republicans were able to overperform in Kansas like in 2014. So Kansas will go for the Republican, Roger Marshall. Minnesota, we can call Tina Smith will defeat Jason Lewis. Minnesota's Senate votes were coming in very close. President Trump is still in play in the state of Minnesota, but at this time, it's just looking like Jason Lewis will not have enough votes to make up the ground that Tina Smith has made in the state of Minnesota. So Minnesota goes to the Democrats. Democrats have 45 Senate seats now. Republicans have 44. So far, the map is going pretty much as expected, according to most pollsters. Governor elections at 10 p.m. We can call the state of Montana outright for Greg Gianforte. This race is very, very close. Steve Bullock, the incumbent Democrat governor, was not eligible to run, so this is an open seat, and Greg Gianforte, the Republican, will win this race and pick up the Montana governorship. Utah, Republican Governor Spencer Cox. Spencer Cox, a Republican candidate, will replace the retiring Republican governor. Spencer Cox will win this state. Republicans now have 27 governorships. Democrats have 22. We're just waiting on the state of Washington, which is not closed its polls yet, but we expect that to go to the Democrats when it does. We can now make a major projection out of the House of Representatives. At this time, Republicans were able to narrow the gap from 42% up to 46% as the hidden Republican and hidden Trump vote did come in on election day and in-person voting. However, the Democrats will have enough support in the House of Representatives to win another 2-year majority in the House for Democrats and potentially for the House Speaker again, Nancy Pelosi. So Democrats hold the House of Representatives. The popular vote, just giving you a little look in at this time. President Trump is leading the popular vote with 47% to Joe Biden's 46%. However, be reminded that not all of Illinois, which has Chicago, or New York City have not come in yet. Not to mention the West Coast, specifically California. Their polls have not yet closed. Once that happens, we expect Joe Biden will win the popular vote. Now it's time for the 11 p.m. poll closings out of the states on the West Coast: California, Hawaii, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington. California and its 55 electoral votes do go for Joe Biden. Joe Biden wins California, the biggest prize of the night. Hawaii and its 4 electoral votes go to Joe Biden. Idaho and its 4 electoral votes go to President Trump. Oregon and its 7 electoral votes we can call at this time for Joe Biden. Joe Biden wins Oregon, although closer margins than last time around as well. Washington is 12 electoral votes go for Joe Biden. And we can call Georgia, key race alert out of Georgia. President Trump will be able to hold Georgia at this time. President Trump will hold Georgia. We can also call Iowa and its 6 electoral votes for President Trump at this time. President Trump able to hold on to Iowa. And important for President Trump's re-election chances, President Trump wins Ohio. Ohio and its 18 electoral votes, called similarly a little earlier in 2016 at around 10:30. We can now call around 11 o'clock. Ohio will go for President Trump. In Maine's 2nd congressional district, President Trump, as expected, will win this district by about 5 percentage points. President Trump wins Maine's 2nd district. So at this time, Joe Biden has retaken the lead on the Electoral College, having 212 electoral votes to President Trump's 201. The Senate race is called at 2020 at 11 p.m. We can call the state of Idaho for Republican Jim Risch. Jim Risch will win the state of Idaho. Oregon, Democrat Jeff Merkley will be reelected out of the state of Oregon. No surprise there. And we can have a key race alert out of the state of Arizona. Martha McSally, the Republican, unpopular in the polls. She's been trailing for a while. Democrat Mark Kelly will be able to pick up enough votes to win this Senate seat in Arizona. The Democrats now have 2 senators out of the state of Arizona. The presidential race is currently too close to call at this time. The state of Georgia, we can call David Perdue will defeat Democrat Jon Ossoff. This was very, very close race. Jon Ossoff really closed the margins. However, David Perdue is able to win on Election Day. David Perdue will be reelected for another 6 years out of the state of Georgia. We can now call the winners in the runoff in the Georgia election as well. We will project it will be Democrat Ralph Warnock and Republican Representative Doug Collins advancing to the runoff. Kelly Loeffler was leading in the polls, but a lot of in-person voting on Election Day that did favor President Trump and the Trump-style Republican will aid Doug Collins, and Doug Collins will go on to face Ralph Warnock in the runoff. And we have a big call out of the state of Michigan. Gary Peters, we project, will narrowly edge out Republican John James. John James outperforming President Trump slightly. However, Gary Peters is outperforming Joe Biden. We can announce at this time Gary Peters will win another 6 years in the U.S. Senate after a very close and hard-fought race by Republican John James. And out of the state of Montana, we could also call Steve Daines will defeat Democrat Governor Steve Bullock in another closely watched, highly contested Senate race. And with that, the Democrats have 48 Senate seats, Republicans have 47. Democrats pick up Arizona, and they hold the important state of Michigan. Republicans hoped they could flip Michigan and maybe grow some of their seats they had because they know they're going to lose Colorado. Could they maybe flip Michigan? It's looking like at this time that Gary Peters will win, and Democrats will have 48, Republicans will have 47. The governor elections at 11 p.m. out of the state of Washington. Jay Inslee, Democrat governor, will be reelected for another 4 years out of the state of Washington. And with that, that is the end of our governor map. All Democratic and Republican governorships have been called. 23 Democrats, Republicans of 27. Republicans did pick up 1 governorship out of the state of Montana. And that's it for the governors. We can call that for now. And now we have the 1 a.m. poll closings. 1 a.m. the presidential race has still not been called yet. We have the state of Alaska. President Trump will win the state of Alaska as expected. We can now call the state of Minnesota for Joe Biden. Joe Biden, with a key race alert, has won the state of Minnesota. We can now call Nebraska's 2nd district, which was going very, very close in the polls. Joe Biden was leading in some polls. President Trump will win Nebraska's 2nd district very, very narrowly in the state of Nebraska. The state of New Hampshire and its 4 electoral votes was very, very close last time around. No difference this time. Very, very close. However, key race alert, we can project that Joe Biden will win New Hampshire's 4 electoral votes. We can also make a projection out of the state of Nevada. Nevada and its 6 electoral votes. President Trump hoped to pick off Nevada. However, it's key race alert. Joe Biden will win the state of Nevada and its 6 electoral votes. We can now make a key race alert out of the state of North Carolina and its 15 electoral votes. President Trump will win North Carolina's 15 electoral votes. With President Trump winning North Carolina, the electoral map currently is Joe Biden is 232, President Trump is 220. So far, Joe Biden has won every single state that Hillary Clinton won last time. He is already at Hillary Clinton's margins, and it's looking like Joe Biden will probably exceed Hillary Clinton's margins. President Trump is at 220, and with winning Ohio, North Carolina, and Iowa, President Trump's path to winning is still alive at this time. And out of the state of Alaska at 1 a.m., we can call Dan Sullivan will be able to win another 6 years in the U.S. Senate over Al Gross. This race did get a lot closer in the polls than expected. However, Dan Sullivan will win another 6-year term. We can now call the state of Iowa. Republican Joni Ernst will defeat Democrat Teresa Greenfield after a very hard-fought and closely watched race. Teresa Greenfield put up a very strong support. However, Joni Ernst, alongside with President Trump winning the state, was able to piggyback off that and win the state of Iowa in this key race alert. Democrats now have 48 Senate seats. Republicans have 49. Now we can call a state at 3 a.m. for the presidential election. We can call Florida and its 29 electoral votes. We saw early enthusiasm for Republicans in Florida and a lack of turnout for the Democrats in Miami-Dade County. Despite that, Florida went very, very close, right down to the wire. However, we can project Florida and its 29 electoral votes we have going to President Trump. With that, President Trump gets up to 249 electoral votes. Joe Biden is 232. The race is very much alive for President Trump. President Trump can win. His path is still there. Joe Biden's path to winning is also still there. It is coming down to the Rust Belt states and the state of Arizona, as most would agree how this is going down to. Senate elections at 3 a.m. We can make another important call. We can call the state of Maine, Sarah Gideon. Wow, she has knocked off Republican Susan Collins. Susan Collins has served out of the state of Maine for a very long time. However, Sarah Gideon is able to pick off this Senate seat in Maine and defeat longtime Republican Susan Collins, a Democratic gain. We can also call another big one. Democrat Cal Cunningham is able to edge off Republican Tom Tillis. Tom Tillis has trailed Cal Cunningham in the polls for a very, very long time. And Cal Cunningham, despite the scandal, was able to hold on and defeat Republican Tom Tillis. That is another Democratic gain in the U.S. Senate. For Democrats at 50 Senate seats, Republicans have 49. So for tonight, that's all we're going to know for the Senate is Democrats have a 1-seat lead because the Georgia race that went to a runoff has not been decided yet. We're expected that race to have a runoff at some point within a month or two or so. And right now, that race will depend who gets Senate majority. If Republicans win that race, which is expected at this time, then the control of the Senate will be up to the vice president, whoever wins the election. At 4 a.m., we can make a call. Out of the state of Arizona, President Trump is nearly able to hold on to the state of Arizona. Polls show Joe Biden winning. However, in the leading days, President Trump did make it much closer, and President Trump will win Arizona and its 11 electoral votes. Out of the state of Michigan and its 16 electoral votes, a flip from 2016, Joe Biden is nearly able to edge President Trump in the state of Michigan. Michigan, the most Democratic of the 3 states that President Trump flipped in 2016 by most metrics, Joe Biden is able to flip Michigan back and his 16 electoral votes go to him. So with that, President Trump now has 260 electoral votes to Joe Biden's 248. This map is very, very close, and this is going down to Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. The presidential election night is over, but we can go a few days later now to make some important calls. Out of the state of Pennsylvania, we can project President Trump by the thinnest of margins, by less than 0.3% of the vote. President Trump will be able to win Pennsylvania. Most people believe Joe Biden lost Pennsylvania due to his fracking comments during the debate. President Trump was nearly able to flip Pennsylvania and win it here. President Trump, also by the thinnest of margins, 0.3%. President Trump will win the state of Wisconsin and its 10 electoral votes, narrowly edging it out and taking a few days to decide who wins these 2 states. With that, President Trump gets 290 electoral votes. Joe Biden has 248. We can officially announce that President Donald Trump has been reelected for 4 more years as President of the United States. This is a surprise to a lot of people. A lot of the polls showed once again President Trump would lose. However, President Trump was able to defy expectations again by flipping and holding the states of Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. And we can officially call the popular vote. We have Joe Biden winning the popular vote 49% to Republican President Donald Trump reelected at 45%. Another time where President Trump has won the election but lost the popular vote. And we can make a much, much later 2020 Senate election call, this being the Georgia runoff. We have projected the Republican Doug Collins will win against Democrat Ralph Warnock, 51-48. Very close, very contested race. However, we can announce Doug Collins will win out of the state of Georgia. So with that, it is a 50-50 tie in the Senate in Republicans and Democrats, which means Mike Pence will be the deciding vote out of the Senate. Seeing as it's a 50-50 tie, Mike Pence will now break the tie for the U.S. Senate. So, a little recap of what happened. Joe Biden versus President Trump Electoral College. President Trump gets 290 electoral votes to Joe Biden's 248. Out of the Senate, Democrats get 50 Senate seats. Republicans get 50 as well. A Senate tie. And the governor, Democrats versus Republicans. Governors get 23. Governors get 27. And Republicans did gain 1 governorship. The House Democrats. So we announced earlier in the night the Democrats will win the House representatives control. I have the Democrats winning 229 seats. Republicans get 206. So Republicans do pick up a few seats. However, the Democrats still hold a very substantial majority. So with that, everyone, thank you so much for watching. If you watched all the way through this video, thank you so much. I did put a lot of time and effort into making this video for you guys, so thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, please like it. And if you didn't like the way the outcome happened, well, still like the video anyway. I'd still appreciate it. Please remember to subscribe to my channel. Thank you all so much for watching. If you're watching this before Election Day, please remember to go out and vote. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.